Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So you're probably really confused as to what the f is this.
What the f is going on in here on this day?
I thought I'd do something special, different, and new on my channel, which is like not wear a hat. Who knew under that hat I had all this luscious pink hair? Onto the reason we're here. I am doing a favorite brushes video, which has been highly requested on all my social media for the past 2 years. It has been the most requested video I think I've ever had. If you are not already subscribed, I would love to have you. We are almost to 100,000 subscribers, and I think that is so crazy. I'm just really excited. So I would love to have you. I post Mondays and Fridays. And while you're down there, might as well turn on those notifications so you are notified when I do post on those days. And if you enjoy this video, you know, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. I know you wanna. Okay. I do want to say most of these brushes are going to be from Morphe. They're the only brushes I really buy and get. I find them to be affordable and so on and so forth. So if you do want to save money, I do have the discount code Thomas in all caps that you can use in store or at checkout at morphebrushes.com. So if you are interested in any of the brushes that I mentioned that are Morphe brushes, I do have a discount code. There are some brushes that aren't Morphe, so don't think this is just like one big Morphe pushing video, because it's not. I just use most Morphe brushes, okay? All right, as long as we have that disclosed and understood, let's start out with some face brushes. So I'm gonna start out with foundation brushes. The first foundation brush is the Morphe E44. This is a holy grail foundation brush. Now, I think they discontinued the Elite 1 series, which is this, where the bristles are white. They have the Elite 2 collection, which is the same number, E44, it's just darker bristles. So it's the same brush, just different style of bristles. Like, they're not white, they're brown. They both do the same thing, they're not different brushes, so don't be worried about that. I find that this just buffs into my foundation for the most full, flawless finish ever. It's not like a flat top, it's rounded. So it really gets the foundation in and blends the foundation nicely. Now, of course, some foundations I use my Beauty Blender, but most full coverage foundations I tend to go for the E44 from Morphe. If you are looking for a cheaper alternative, the Morphe Y5, which is basically the exact same brush, just different handles. This one's from their yellow gold collection. I find this brush to be gorgeous, but they're the same brushes. I love them for the exact same thing. But yeah, the Morphe Y5 is another amazing foundation brush. If you don't want to go the Elite route, you can go the Y7 route. Another great inexpensive foundation brush that I have been loving from Morphe since the beginning of time is the Morphe M439. I know this is like the most iconic brush from Morphe. I personally like this more for like taking my MAC powder, and I just like swirl this brush into my MAC powder and just buff it into the skin, so I have like this flawless finish. I only do that for like full coverage days and I want to like really cake on my makeup. But this is also another great brush for foundation. The only difference this one has with these two is that this one's a little bit more rounded and it's a little bit of a smaller brush. Next up is the Morphe E45. Now this is my favorite brush to use for buffing out concealer, buffing out the concealer on my eyes, spot concealing so I get the fullest coverage. I don't like to spot conceal and use my finger, especially if I'm doing it on acne. I find that to be counterproductive. Same thing with this brush. It is the same Elite collection, the same brush. It's the same E45 brush, it's just a different color. I don't know if they still have the silver one available. It's the Elite 2 collection. It's just a different version of the Elite collection. It's really great. It's even really good for buffing and concealer under the eyes. I find it to not soak up as much product as a Beauty Blender. This is an amazing baby version of the Morphe M439. Again, this is the Morphe E45. Next up is the Morphe E46. It's a nice angled type of kabuki situation. This is also really good for buffing and foundation, but I prefer it for powder. Typically what I like to do with my under eye concealer is do concealer and then set it with a foundation that has pigment, and I usually do that with my MAC Studio Fix so I get the fullest coverage under my eyes, because I do have horrible under eye bags from just not sleeping. Now, if I'm wanting to lightly set my under eyes and I don't want to do anything crazy or just set my T-zone, I'll take my Morphe E. I have a lot of Elite favorites, just warning you. I'll take my Morphe E49 brush, which is like this nice like pointed fluffy brush, and that point just really gets into the crevices of the under eyes. And then I'll just like take it in the center of my forehead, down my nose. It's just a really good brush to just like set those crevices that you typically can't get to with like, I don't know, a bigger brush. So yeah, this is a really good brush for setting the under eyes. Again, it's the Morphe E49 brush. Oh, I actually have a brush that isn't Morphe for the face. Okay, so the Kat Von D number 25 brush looks like this. Amazing, amazing like little paddle brush for setting the under eyes or even applying foundation. Sometimes I like to do what Michael Finch does here on YouTube. I'm sure you guys know who Michael Finch is. He sometimes takes his foundation and like gets one of these types of brushes, dips it into the foundation and just paints his face, and then goes in with a beauty blender or like a kabuki brush. I like to do that sometimes, especially when I'm doing like full coverage. So this is a really good brush for doing that, or even just packing powder under the eyes, baking under the eyes. This is a really good brush for that because it's fluffy, so it can like really blend in powder and blend in foundation. Next up for faces, it's the Morphe E52 brush. I like to dip this brush, just like little paddle brush, into translucent powder, my face powder, whether that be my Maybelline Better Skin or my MAC Studio Fix, and I just like lightly set my face. If I'm not going for a huge cakey look that day, this is a really good brush for powdering the face. It even can be used for bronzing the face. It's like a pretty multifaceted brush. Again, that's the Morphe E52. Next up is contouring, bronzing, blushing, highlighting, so on and so forth. So typically in my foundation routine, I like to bronze first. Just depends on the day. I either contour first or bronze first, but typically I'll bronze first, and I'll use my MAC 137 brush. What I like about this brush is that it just really lightly applies product, and you can really use a light hand, and it just like really feathers on the product, and it's so tapered it can blend the bronzer like a dream. This is also really good for applying blush very lightly. So most of the times I use this for bronzer, but other times I'll sometimes also use this brush to dip into blush and just like lightly just like give the cheeks some love, you know? Right now this is my baby. I've used it so much that Morphe's name has rubbed off. The only thing that's barely rubbed off is the number, which I got lucky there. It is the Morphe R14 brush. I am obsessed with this brush for contouring. I like how it's just like, it's like a little ball, you know? It's like the bristles are like a little ball, they're tapered, and it just, when I contour, I just like, it just really gets into that area, those cheekbones. And you can really get a nice little soft blend of contour. It doesn't get too crazy and it's not too harsh. It just softly blends the contour to perfection. It is my all-time favorite contouring brush. I have never used any other contouring brush since I've used this. Well, that's a lie. It just depends. It just depends on how I feel. I've used this one a lot as well. I've used this one so much that it's completely rubbed off. It is a flat contour brush. Now, this is when you go into contour. Like, this is a night out at the club and you just wanna cut bitches. This is the brush for cutting bitches. This makes your contour look fucking sickening. Like, I just got cheekbone surgery. Like, I just got filler in my cheeks. Like, sometimes I'll go in with my bronzer and then I'll dip into my contour and just lightly like do a little line and then blend up. Do a little line, then blend up. And it makes the contour so brush that I like to use for blush is the Morphe Y5 brush. This doesn't need much explanation. You just dip it into the blush and you just you know, do your blush. Again, this is the Morphe Y5 brush. I will not be caught dead doing my makeup without these brushes. My favorite highlighting brush of all time, the Morphe M57 brush. This brush right here saves lives. He donates to charity. This is my all-time favorite highlighting brush. Matter of fact, your girl needs some more highlighter right now. Let me just show you. So I just dip into my little highlighter right here. Dip, dip, dip. Look at that. It blends the highlighter into the skin for you. This brush does. I don't know what it is about this brush, but for some reason, it just makes any highlighter beaming. What it is about this brush is like the bristles just really attach on the product and distributes it to the face nicely. I don't know what it is, but this brush, I can't not highlight without this brush. There's no way you'll catch me ever highlighting using a different brush besides this brush. Now moving on to eye brushes, eyebrows, and so forth. This might be pretty lengthy. So I'm gonna start out with eyebrows. I only have one eyebrow brush that I really recommend. It's this Morphe Rose Gold Collection eyebrow brush. Don't know the number because it rubbed off because I use it so much. I love to use this with pomades or powders. It's the perfect angle. It has a spoolie at the end, so it really just makes your life a lot easier. What I also like to do with this is I'll dip it into the pomade and pinch it at the tip and just carve out my brow. Really great eyebrow brush that I really do recommend. This is a really great blending brush. It's just like a dome blending brush. I use this brush all the time for putting down like my transition shade. I use this brush clean and just blend out a shadow, if that makes any sense, or blend two shadows together to make it more seamless. It's just a really good blending brush. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this if you have an eye shape like me and you're like a beginner. This brush can get too crazy too quick if you have smaller eyes. However, I do have experience and I know how to use this brush where it doesn't get too carried away. So I don't technically recommend this if you have hooded, deep set, or small eyelids. If you have big eyes, big lids, and know how to use a blending brush, I do recommend this brush. Again, it's the Smith 232 brush. It is expensive, but I have other blending brushes I'm going to talk about, so don't worry. Another blending brush that I absolutely love is the Morphe M57 brush. It's basically a dupe for the Smith one, but you can never have too many blending brushes, let's be real. This is just an amazing, amazing blending brush. It just really gets into the crease and it just really just blends in. The next one is the Morphe M441 brush. It kind of looks like the last one I talked about, the Morphe M57, but it's a little bit longer and it's a little bit more loosey-goosey, if that makes any sense. It's like there's less bristles and it's just a little bit skinnier, so you can really, really, really get into the crease. They basically do the same thing. This one's just a little bit more flimsier and skinnier, and this one's a little bit more fatter and thicker. I have 3 of my M441s here right now, so obviously I love this brush a lot. Yeah, I love this brush a lot. Next up is the Smith 230 brush. This is just a little baby blender brush. This is really great if you have hooded eyes or smaller lids. It's just like a smaller baby blender brush. Basically what I would do is go in with a bigger blender brush with a transition shade or whatever color I want to use, and then I'll go again with a darker shade with the 230 brush or a smaller blender brush, and I will put this more into the crease to deepen it up even more. So like the smaller the brush, so basically what you want to do for a perfect blend is get smaller and smaller with the brushes. The more and more colors or the deeper in colors you go. That's basically a rule of thumb. Here are my 3 favorite flat shader brushes. They're dupes for the MAC 217 brush that everyone talks about, that everyone loves, everyone that knows and loves. The first one is the R39 from Morphe, the Smith 247 brush, and the Morphe M433 brush. These are all 3 amazing flat blending brushes, flat shading brushes, really great quality. The cheapest one out of this bunch is the Morphe M433 brush that is a complete and total dupe for the MAC 217. I have that somewhere, but I don't reach for it as often because I find, in my opinion, the Morphe one does a better job. I don't know, but they're made of the same, I don't know. These are 3 great flat shader brushes. These next 2 brushes are hands down brushes you need if you have hooded eyes, small eyes like I do, deep set, small, hooded, whatever the case is. If you have small eyes or if you have big eyes, it just depends. You need these 2 brushes. They're actually the same brush. I just have 2 because I love it so much. I actually have more of them. It's the Morphe M506 brush. If you follow me on Snapchat, if you've been here on YouTube, you know I always use these brushes. I just think it's perfect, especially since I have tiny lids. It just gets right. It's like a small little blender brush. It's like a tapered blending brush that's really tiny that just gets right in there ever so slightly. It's just a perfect little mini blending brush. Next up, I have 3 little dome brushes that really just pack on like a color on the outer inner corners. If you guys have seen me do halo eyes, I'll take like a little miniature one of these brushes and then just like put it on the inner and outer corners. These are the type of brushes you use when you're like down to the final step, like the black eyeshadow, the darkest eyeshadow, and you just want to put it on the outer V. I have the Morphe M431 brush. This is almost rubbed off, I've used it so much. Dose of Colors pencil brush, and the Morphe Y22. Now these two brushes are the ones that I use to deepen up, and then I'll take my Morphe Y22 brush and I'll go into like a highlight shade and I'll highlight my inner corner, my brow bone. I'll even like highlight my nose, my cupid's bow. And these are the two that I sometimes use on my lower lash line or just deepen up my eyes or whatever. I have like 10 or 15 of these brushes, I'm not even kidding. It's like my favorite all-time Morphe brush, the Morphe M224. Great for packing on eyeshadow, like shimmer foiled eyeshadows. It's synthetic, so it mimics like a finger. So it really packs up foiled eyeshadow beautifully, and it's really good for packing on color on the eyes, on the lid. It's also really good carving out the eyebrow brush. It's also really good applying concealer brush. Next is the Morphe G20 brush. This is another good brush for packing on color on the lid, packing foiled eyeshadows on the lid, packing glitter, pressed glitters on the lid. This is just another good shading brush for the eyes. Again, this is the Morphe G20 brush. Now, typically what I do for my under eyes, I'll go in with like a pencil brush like I talked about before, go in with the first shade, the lightest shade, blend it under there, and then I'll go in with a dark shade and I'll take one of these three brushes and pack on the darkest color and just blend it under there, or gel pencil or a pencil liner. It's just really good for buffing out those types of stuff. So these three are the Morphe E43, the Morphe Y21 brush, and the Morphe either the M503 or the M563. I've had this for so long. They all do basically the same thing. They just really buff in shadow under the waterline here. I don't really use them for anything else other than for the lower lash line. All right, you guys, that is it for all my favorite brushes. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you found it helpful in some way. Maybe it'll help you find a new brush. I don't know, I just hope this video helps you guys out. And comment down below what brushes you are thinking about getting from this video, if it helps you out at all. Everything will be linked down below, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, whatever. If you guys enjoyed this video, give me a huge thumbs up. It helps me out a lot. And subscribe. I'm close to 100,000 subscribers and I'm super excited. I'm going to be doing a huge giveaway once I reach 100,000 subscribers, like a huge giveaway. You guys don't want to miss that. So be sure you're subscribed so you can partake in that fun. I think that's all I have to say. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I love you so much, and I will see you in my next video on Friday. Bye, guys.